Hello there, Chris here from Bogies Models, and in this video I'm going to show you how to actually build the HVSS bogey for the 1/16 scale I Love kit Easy 8 Sherman. Now, in the last video I just showed you how to disassemble that and I didn't actually show you how to build it. I showed you how I built the other suspension parts and how I put the lower hull together. So this video is specifically about how do you actually build this unit. Now I've glued this one together and I've got all the parts here to show you, apart from the rubber wheels that come on these little sprue attachment things here. Very easy to get off and very easy to fit. There's about 27 parts per bogie. I think I counted that right. If you want to do a quick count all the way across here, this little pile here in the lower corner, this is all the spare parts. So you get 2 extra flanges that go onto the lower hull, and you get a few extra little very tiny suspension parts. So if you muck up any of these little ones down the bottom here, okay. So basically in each bogie you've got 4 road wheels, you've got a flange that attaches to the lower hull, you've got 2 of these cast. They're supposed to be cast, but these are very smooth, and I've been told that the Andy Hobby headquarters ones have a cast effect and have casting numbers inside the gusset there. I'll see if I can put a photo up of how that's supposed to look. So you've got 2 of those, you've got the housings for and the springs for the horizontal suspension bits. You've got some covers. These covers basically just cover up that part in the arm. You've got the I'm not sure of the individual names, but basically the horizontal spring action here, the shock absorber up the top there. Okay, you've got those parts. You've got some axles, and you've got this piece that locks it all in the front. Now, as I explained in my last video, and then you've got a myriad of all these little ancillary little pieces that hold things together. As I explained in my last video, this basically dry fitted together. There were 2 parts at the rear, just I get my little pointy stick out. There's 2 parts back here that have to be glued in, and then you assemble the whole thing. Don't use any glue at all until you get to the front, and then you've got these two parts here that hold in the cast arms with horizontal spring setup. Okay, and that's it. The rest is all dry fit. Everything fits in lovely. Now this is a little bit workable. I've actually not included the springs. They do give you, and I'll see if I can grab it out of the box over here, they do give you some springs in there, but I found them too long. I might experiment with cutting off 1 or 2 rungs on the ring, but I find that it's under tension and torsion just far too much. So, you know, for the purposes I need this for, mine's going to be displayed on a slight rise, so it's going to be rising like that, so there will be a little bit of undulation. It's fine. And so I've just left this, I haven't glued them together, they're just sitting there like that. You know, your mileage may vary. So what I've got in front of me here is a long night or 2 or 3 or 4 of cleaning up the parts. One disadvantage I have heard, and I know this because I've built plenty of TACOM kits. I'm building 2 other TACOM 1/16 tankettes at the moment, or it's my club build. I do that at my hobby night. And I've built their Tankette 94, I've built the Object 279, the M3 Grant. I've built quite a few TACOM kits. I know what they're like. I haven't heard any different about the Andy Hobby headquarters. There's a lot of ejection pin marks and a lot of things to clean up. Now, the Trumpet of Merit I Love kit one is, you know, similar. There are some pieces you've got to cut off. But I found overall that the cleanup in this is actually not too bad. Get yourself a nice pair of, I need to clean my sprue cutters, or maybe just use my disc bay ones. There are a lot of areas where you don't need to clean up, like there is a mold seam line on the casting of this swing arm thing. You just need to cut off the sprue attachments, and yeah, once you've done the cleanup, that's it. It will go snap together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and clean these all up, and I'll put aside one. I'll make one assembly. I'll do the rest off camera. I'll have one assembly, and I'll completely film the whole lot to show you how it goes together. So let's fast forward to that. Alright, I've got the swing arms, or whatever you want to call these things that swing between the 2 bogies. There's the axle, all cleaned up, but I was careful not to clean up there's a seam line running down the center, which actually is present there on the actual part, but what is missing is, this is nice shiny, well, some of it's shiny, it's sort of dull, but it's not dull enough. These were cast, so I'm going to use the old technique using Mr. Surfacer. Even though this says 1200, it's actually thickened up over time because I've been putting bits of 500 and 1000 in it. So the technique's very simple. If you want to add cast texture to anything, get a very old brush, dunk it in, and I just want to stipple it over the whole thing. And this creates, as you can see it build up there, it just creates just another level of surface texture. That's all it is. Okay, and what you do is just apply it over the whole part like that. And I'll just do one side for now, and if I just very carefully do that over the seam line will still poke through. See, the seam line's still there. Okay, I should probably zoom in. I'll zoom in for the next one. Alright, so I'll just do that. Put that aside. That'll dry within a few minutes, so let's just tighten up and show you how to do it on this one. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do the whole batch on one side, let it dry, and then turn them over and do another one. So I got a bit too much on my brush there, that's okay, I'll just put it over there. So yeah, all I'm doing is with the bristles of the brush, I'm just creating a surface texture, and what you can do is once it's all dried off, you can come back in again. I'll just get rid of some of the excess there. Come back in again and this with a small sanding stick, and if you just want to take off some of the high points, but you're going to get a very subtle, varied texture on this. And I do this on a lot of armoured vehicle stuff because, yeah, it's covered in texture. It's covered in, it's not, the plastic, particularly in this scale, it's just not good enough just to have shiny plastic, because the only thing that's replicating is sheet metal. Okay, sheet metal on, say, toolboxes and maybe jerry cans, and that's about it. Everything else, it's rolled plate, rolled armor, or cut plate steel, or cast. And then when you're talking about welds, there's so many welds all over, and they are shocking. You got to think of the welding back then. I mean, the Soviet stuff's the worst stuff. It's the worst I've ever seen. If you've ever seen photos of Soviet armor up close, it is terrible. But even German stuff's really bad. It's just that, massive weld seams. They're not as clean as what you sometimes see. Some kits have the weld seams built in, but they're not as good as that. So I'm just going to continue with this, and once they're all done, I can start assembling. The next detail you may want to enhance, and I've shown it here on my completed one, is these pins that hold in these swing arms here. See that one there and there? They do not come with these holes drilled in these little slots. I'll show you one without the hole. Okay, so there's just that slot, and you've got to be careful when you're cleaning up the piece. One of the ejection pin marks is actually on that piece, so be very careful slicing off the remains. So what you may want to do is wait until you've assembled it, because a lot of the pins will be on the back. Okay, there's the back, and you're never going to see them. So to save you drilling all those holes, which is very simple, I'll show you one here that I've drilled in. You may want to do it when it's fully assembled, but I'll just show you how I did mine off the thing. So I just got a small drill here, go for the center, and I'm just making a little pilot hole there. Just a little bit of pressure. You might want to use a Proxon or a Dremel to do this, but just with a hand is easy enough. So that's just a little, that's one of my smallest drill bits. I think it's 0.3 or something. So I made a small one there, and then this size seems to be the right size if you check the reference photos, and I'll see if I can remember to put one up, because these holes, I don't know what they are, drainage holes or something, they're quite prominent. So I'll just get that started. I think that's somewhat in the center. So yeah, this is a lot easier when the bogies are all done up. So it's up to you if you want to do it now or do it when it's all assembled, and because that's what I did to mine. I was looking at the reference photos for the swing arms and realized, oh, there's those two big bloody holes there you can really see on the outside. So there you go, that's all you have to do. Very simple. And but like I said, it might be easier, just do it on the bogies, because then you can save yourself having to drill out holes that nobody will ever see. So you can do this before you do the swing arms if you want, so the glue goes off, and this is nice and stable beforehand. But we need to put these two pins in, and they are different, ME24 and ME11. you'll see that there's a little pin at the bottom of that housing there, and that needs to go in there. Now if you don't, I've had these actually fall out. I didn't glue them in on mine, on the finished bogie, and they actually snapped out when I tried to do some working on the suspension. So make sure these are glued in nice and well, like so, because that pin will hold in under tension the main the centerpiece of the bogies. So I'll just get this in. So it's a good fit all around, but make sure you do that. And I would glue all of these up first, let them go off before you start doing the major assembly. So the swing arms with the cast texture is on there, so what you want to do is you want to have the small bit that goes to the center pointing this way, and you need these two pin pieces. Now do not glue these in, and you will notice they are keyed. The hole has to face out that way, which is basically to the center, and you'll notice that the one on the back has a small notch on it. You can see that notch there. It's just a small, it's not quite a circle. You'll know you're going the wrong way if that doesn't go in nice and cleanly. It should just slid in there like that. If I try to put in the other one, okay, I should get, it goes in but barely. Alright, so you just put these in so that the pins are facing like that, and it's a press fit. Do not glue these in yet, because I'll show you on the next stage what you have to do, because they can adjust a little bit up and down a little bit. Okay, alright, so the next thing you need to do is get the spring housings assembled. Again, this is a snap fit, just goes in like that, that spring into there. You need to make quite a few of these. Now you may want to glue these up, and I might just put just a little bit of dot of glue on the bottom there and around the side just to get them on. Okay, and now what you want to do is those pins at the back, okay, you need to line up with these two holes. So the way it goes, facing this way, the large housing to the back, that just snaps in, okay, like so. Just make sure it's all lined up, and that, technically you can leave it working like that if you want to, but it should be captured fairly well within those two pins. So final assembly, put a swing arm on each side so that one of the fat spring housings is facing forward, and what you need to do, and sometimes one of these axles is quite tight, just like this one, you need to line them up so that the small housing goes in the big and the big goes in the small. So sometimes you just have to give it a bit of a move here and there, and sometimes these things will actually snap off. That's why you don't glue them just yet, or at all actually, if it works. So I'm just easing it on, and there we go, we got them in, and as you can see it's a little bit wonky, so I just need to move it around a little bit, although that's how it shows if it's going over uneven ground. And there you go, the pins come out of there, so just give it a bit of a firm push, firm push in, there we are. Okay, so what I like to do now next is put on this forward pin. So you don't want to put any glue on these two axles, just on this pin here, and with the bolt up like that, slide that in, famous last words, and it should, no, there we go. Alright, so it's in. I just need to put, so these have gone too far in, just pull them out a little bit. So how they trumpeter wants you to put springs in the middle there, but that puts everything under enormous tension, and maybe that helps in keeping it there, but I found that it's just easier just to keep it like that. So there we go. Alright, so I find the next stage is a lot easier if you've got wheels. Now you may want to keep the rubber off here, just to ease of painting, but basically just very tight fit, snap that in, put one at the back, just a press fit like that, do the other side, and I like to do this because it just keeps everything nice and level when you put the final horizontal shock absorber on. So that's on, and that's a little bit tight, but We'll get there. Okay. Now, upside down this chain, we've got to go this way. So, what we want to do next is to do the shock absorber. The easiest way to do that is just put the parts inside them each other like this. Line up the pins there and the back there, and see how this technically will move back and forward like that. Okay, but they need to be captive by, to turn it around, you need to put some pins in there. So there's one on one side that has a little notch. See that there? And what you want to do is very carefully put glue on the end of the peg, and then here on the inside of that housing there, snap it in like that. So that should freely move. I'll just put a little bit more glue in the inside there just so it gets in there. And then on the other side we use this tiny little fellow, and he just needs a little bit on the pin there. So the bolt should be on the outside, obviously. So that little bolt to line up with the other one. Hopefully I can get this on camera. Yep, there we go. And just to seal it all in, just a little bit of glue just to seal that there. And that is almost done. I just need to drill in one more hole there. I've done that one. And the bogies are all done. So all 6 bogies are done. I've just got to drill that one hole there. I've drilled the rest of those little drain holes in the front. It's a lot easier just to hang onto the whole bogie and just drill in. Hope that was helpful. I haven't found any sort of problems along the way, just the usual sort of, you know, basic modelling skills to clean up parts, and there's a lot of cleanup to do. There's 27 odd parts per bogie, and with that and the tracks done, that's the majority of the parts in the kit. There's only a few parts left to do, so I'm going to get cracking with that. But until next time, thanks for watching and happy modelling.